talk about the secret relationship between Africa and India. But before I continue, I want to say thank you for supporting this channel. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps spread this message to everyone. Thank you so much. And feel free to make a comment because I respond to every comment that you make. So, back to this story. I wanted to talk about the secret relationship between Africa and India and the secrets that the Indians don't want you to know. Now, the issue of Indians in Kenya is something that they came over with the British invasion. We never gave them a visa. We never invited them. We really didn't allow it because they came as part of the invading army. And so when the British decolonized, they left us with this group of people that now we have to manage and live with. So to most Kenyans, an Indian is this, pale people coming over from the Indian subcontinent. And most people assume that these are actually Indians. Well, historically, these are not Indians. These are Aryans. These are Aryans who invaded India starting in about 500 BC. India, according to Herodotus, who saw them and who's writing in about 500 BC actually. At that time, he describes Indians as being exactly like Africans. He says there's no difference between the people of Africa and the people of India except for the hair texture. He says you can't tell them apart. But today you find these pale people in India claiming to be Indians. Well, they are not Indians. They are Aryans from the north. So what happened is that starting about 500 BC, some people may argue earlier, some people may argue later, but let's go with 500 BC. A group of Aryans, people coming from the Eurasian steppe, started attacking south. And they invaded the entire area from Mesopotamia all the way to India, all the way to North Africa. That's where you get these pale people from. So basically there's no difference between a pale Arab, a pale Indian, a pale European, a pale Iranian. They are all the same stock of people called Aryans. In fact, the country Iran is named after Aryans. And if you remember, many Europeans call themselves Aryans. And even these Indians, these pale ones, they also have all these institutions called Arya this, Arya that, because they are Aryans. They are not Indians. Indians look exactly like Africans except for hair texture. So as a result of that invasion, the color of India changed. They started to lose pigmentation. But if you still go to the tribal areas in India, and if you go to the south, you'll find very many, pigmented people who look exactly like Africans, except for the hair texture. In fact, I met one of them some time back, and I thought I was talking to an African. And we had a very long, interesting conversation. He really didn't have an accent, to be honest. And then at the end of the conversation, he told me, actually, I'm from India. I nearly fainted. And I could not tell because he had shaved off his head, so you couldn't tell. And I was really shocked, But anyway, we want to discuss the secrets that they've been hiding, stuff that they do not want us to know. Now, I was just saying all this to give you context about what I want to say. Now, when the Aryans invaded India, they found a fully developed culture created by people who are called Dravidians. Now, the Dravidians are the original population of India, which is Austronesian mostly, look like the original Aboriginals of Australia, who, as you very well know, look like Africans, except for the hair texture. So, they found a fully developed culture, a fully developed religion, fully developed everything. So they imposed themselves on the culture, on the religion, on everything. And they began to change the color of the deities, of the gods. See, all gods in India, every single god in India is a black person. Every single god in India is basically an African person. In fact, one of their major gods is called Shiva. Now Shiva, his original statue, and you can still find it. I think there's a temple in the south that you can still see the original image of Shiva, and he's portrayed as basically an African with dreadlocks. Yeah, that's who Shiva is. That's the original image. And his son, his divine son, or his avatar, or his incarnation is called Krishna. Now, the word Krishna means black. And the other word for Krishna is Shyam. And Shyam also means black. Which brings us back to that song that you had earlier. Now, that song, in case you're wondering, that song is a praise song to Krishna. Yeah. So, Krishna is black and is portrayed as black in all the original texts. All the Vedic texts talk about the gods being black. And in fact, not only Krishna is black, also Rama, who they call Lord, is black. His wife Sita is also black. Their twins, Lava and Kush, are also black. Every single god of the Indian pantheon is an African. So, an Indian will treat you will have attitude towards you. And then on Friday go to temple and worship you as God. So anytime they give you attitude, you should remind them that you are in fact their gods. They have no other gods other than Africans. But they changed the image of the gods. And so because the description in the liturgy is so clear that these are black people that are being worshipped, they started changing the image, portraying themselves, the Aryans, the invaders, as the gods. So, but where the description was too much, they couldn't escape it, they started drawing the gods as blue. Despite the fact that the text say that the gods are so black, like dark, dark black. So they started drawing them as blue, which is why you'll see when they draw those images, they draw blue, because they cannot stand the idea of drawing those gods as Africans, despite the fact that that is what the text says. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is the story of Indian religion. It's all about the praise and worship of African people. Now, why is this the situation? It's the situation because the dispersal of people coming from originally from Africa is the same Africans who were spreading all over the world. So in prehistory, there were no Chinese, there were no Mzungu. All this other bloodline really did not exist because they are genetic mutations of us. So before they existed, we were still here on the planet. And so as the people spread towards the east, it was still the same Africans spreading. And now the story of Rama, as far as I'm concerned, is the story of Osiris. Is the same character. And I don't want to go too deep into prehistory, but only to say that all the ancient gods really are African. Because all the ancient peoples, anytime you're reading a story that is circa 1000 BC, going backwards, everyone is basically an African. The rest of these people really don't come into the picture until much, much, much later. I know you've been deceived in school. They show you all the ancient peoples as being, I don't know, European or something funny. No, there's no such thing. If you're talking about 1000 BC going backwards, those are African characters, whether you like it or not. So, and we know that the government teaches you these things, like they avoid teaching you the correct history, because the education principle in Kenya, the philosophy is based upon white supremacy, the idea that the Mzungu is in fact God. And so they do everything in their power to suppress information that would contradict that notion of the supremacy of the Europeans. So in Kenyan schools, they will never teach you about Krishna. And Krishna being basically an African character. No, never. They will focus you on Vasco da Gama. Yeah. So all of you know about Vasco da Gama. You know nothing about Rama, who the Indians call Lord. You know nothing about Osiris. See, this is intentional social engineering by the government. And the idea is to reproduce the sort of African that you are. Very docile, very weak, with a racial inferiority complex, not knowing your role in history or in the world. So through this brainwashing, that's the only way you can sustain, the continued foreign domination of Kenya economically. It doesn't bother you that the country is dominated by foreigners. It doesn't bother you at all. For you, that is the natural order, with you being at the bottom. So you accept that. So that when the government gives over the most valuable gold mine in Kenya, yes, we have a gold mine in Kenya with 8 1.7 million tons of mineable ore in Narok. When they gave it to the British, you did not complain. Because that is the natural order of things, with you at the bottom and all assets being held by foreigners. So they're able to achieve this level of docility through brainwashing you from the time you're a small baby in school. So they tell you all the great people of the past are not African, except in truth, all the great people of the past really are African. And so we come back to India. All the gods of India are Africans. It is us who they worship. Every single time you hear them saying, Hare Hare Krishna Krishna, it is the same as saying, Hare African man. It's the same thing. There is no difference. You are their gods. Now, in the medieval period, who is this? He is called Marco Polo. Marco Polo was an Italian who went on a world tour. So he ended up in India. Now, he tells us what he found in India. So he said he walks into the court of the king, a very powerful king. And in that court, these are his words, not my words. Okay? Eyewitness testimony from Marco Polo in 1288, in case you're wondering. No, he says that the most esteemed man is a black man. That the black people are the ones who are in charge. And that all the gods are drawn as black. And all the devils and the demons are drawn as white. Because that's what the people believe. So Marco Polo is telling you that Africans were ruling in India. But you have never had this in school. Why? Well, the government wants you to focus on Vasco da Gama. So you'll never learn anything useful if you go to a Kenyan school. So you may think that's an exaggeration, that Marco Polo is somehow confused. Well, he's not, because India, for hundreds of years, was ruled by Africans. I am not exaggerating. Many, many African dynasties were ruling. For example, one of the most remarkable Africans who ruled in India is called Malik Ambar. Now, you'll never learn about him. He had a huge kingdom in the Deccan. And he was the main obstacle to the expansion of the Mughal Empire. And in fact, they could not defeat him. I mean, the guy had an army with a cavalry of 60,000 horsemen. And the Mughal Empire did everything to invade that place. They could never succeed against him. And when Malik Ambar died, the Mughal emperor, like the people who built the Taj Mahal, they sent an emissary to express condolences, saying that truly he was the best, greatest king they had ever encountered. And that means a lot. And this sort of information is never, ever, ever mentioned in school. Never, ever. Not only Malik, so many other dynasties of Africans who are called Habshis, Sawahil, Sidis, ruled in India. And some of their descendants still hold royal titles. But this is always suppressed. So the government, does everything to suppress any kind of information that would make you feel proud to be an African. And they strictly focus on Europeans, which is a shame. So India was an African kingdom for many, many centuries. Not years, for centuries. So we used to rule over Indians, and they have never ruled over us. So if they give you grief, you just remind them that we were your rulers. You were our servants. Yet you have never ruled over us. But for some reason, you seem to imagine that you're better than us. And if you know anything about this guy called, what is he called? Gandhi. He was really, really anti-African. He really, really disliked us. And that comes from that historical memory of jealousy, because we used to rule over them. So it comes from that jealousy that they have against us. So you must never ever feel, inferior to anyone. And which is why we are calling for, total educational reform in the information that is being given to our children. Because they are feeding our children information that is meant to demoralize them. That is meant to give them a racial inferiority complex. This is very deliberate by the Ministry of Education. And I hate calling it the Ministry of Education, because in truth, its proper title is the Ministry of Miseducation and Disinformation. Now, going back into prehistory, when the invasion of the Aryans began, what you need to understand is that the whole of North Africa, Mesopotamia, going all the way to India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, the people who used to live there were all black people. Okay? Now, when the Aryans invaded, coming in from the north, they pushed these populations south. And the groups that were living in Mesopotamia, they moved into Africa, and the other groups escaped and went into India, what we call India today. And so you'll find that there's linguistic affinity between African languages and languages of India that, this is never taught in class again. So, for example, the Dravidian languages and the languages of East Africa are really very close, despite being removed by time and distance from each other. And they're all related to Sumerian. Now, when you're reading the books that you'll be provided for in school, if they talk about the Sumerians at all, the first thing they'll claim is that Sumerian is a language isolate, which means that it is unrelated to all other languages. The problem is, if you as an African study Sumerian, you'll understand the words. So if it's a language isolate, how can it be that you're understanding the words? And you can clearly see that Sumerian is related to African languages, and in fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's Proto-Bantu, and it is also related to the Dravidian languages, and also is Proto-Tamil, and Malayalam, and Telugu, and all of them, and Kannada. So when you study Dravidian languages and East African languages, you'll see a lot of affinity. For example, I'm just going to give you a few words in Sumerian and the Dravidian and Bantu languages so that you can see how they are connected. Now, the word black in Sumeria is musu. In Swahili, it's mweusi. In Dravidian, it's karu. In other Bantu languages, it's Cairo. The word Hessen in Dravidian is kas. In Swahili is kasi. The word anus in Dravidian is kunde. In Swahili is kundu. The word sip in Dravidian is kudi. In Bantu is kuda. The word pound is kumu. And in Bantu is kima. The word cry in Dravidian is kuyu. In Bantu is kaya. The word food in Dravidian is kulu. In Bantu is kula or chakula. The word ox in Dravidian is konda. In Bantu is kondo. The word bird is koku. In Bantu is kuku. So, just from those few examples, you can clearly see that these languages are really, really interrelated. And in fact, I'm just throwing this out there. In fact, when you look at the word for God amongst the Bantu comes from the Sumerian word Enki. It grows from there. So you find that the Sumerians had a god called Enki. Now Enki, you come to Kenya. I'm just using Kenya as an example. It doesn't mean that it's exclusive to Kenya. So you come to Kenya, you find the Maasai call the name of their god Enkai. And then you go to the Bantu have the word Ngai. Others is Mulungu, Mungu, Murungu, Mulungai, Longo, Nkulunkulu. So you go all the way to India, to the Dravidian languages. Well, they also have a similar name for God. It's called Murugan. So you find that you have Murugan, Murungu, Mulungu, Longo, Mulungai, Ngai, Enkai, Enki. You go all the way to Philippines. They have Mulungai also. So you can clearly see that these two groups of people are clearly related. However, this is never taught to students in school. This is called suppressed history. You are not meant to know these things. Let's take a minute and talk about Shiva. Shiva is the supreme god of the Hindu religion, the most important being, the supreme being. And his divine son, of Krishna, Shiva, is also known as black, the black one. So in Hinduism, the most important god and his son are both black. And when you listen to the songs that they sing praises to a black man, to an African man. And this is very important because the entire Hindu pantheon hangs on the worship of Vishnu and Krishna. Now, listen to the words of this song that you may know the truth, because they've been hiding the identity and Krishna, because they portray him, they paint him in a different color other than an African man. But the songs, which are very ancient, reveal the truth of who they are worshipping. They are worshipping an African man. Now, let's listen to the words of the song.
Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare Vasudeva.
So the song that started the video, this is exactly what the lady is singing. When she says, Mite rase bariori, Radha lani lage, Maharani lage, Mane karo karo, Yamuna jiro pani lage, Yamuna jiro kare kare, Radha gori gori, Vrundavan meindum, Machave barsane, Kichori, Radha Radha nam ratatate, Hejo nar ato dam. Now, the second song that you just heard right now, this is the title of it. Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari. And these are the words of the song. Hey Nath Narayan Vasudeva, Hey Nath Narayan, Ik Maat Swami, Sakana Mare, Bandi Gram Getum, Avatari, Kahi Janme, Kahi Pale Murari, Kisi ke Jaye, Kisi ke Kahaye, and so on and so forth. Now, some of the words, this is what they mean. Like, listen to these words so that you can know what these people are singing about. This is the exact translation. Shri Krishna, dark as a rain-filled cloud, adorned with peacock feathers, graces the banks of the Yamuna river. When he applies his lips to the flute, melodious notes fill the Vrindavan. Shri Krishna, your pure charisma, your flute playing is so intoxicating. Singing your song down in Vrindavan, enchanting the gopis and all your devotees, filling the hearts with all the bhakti yogis. And the song continues, Oh Krishna, you're as sweet as nectar. Your body is as divine as a stationary lightning. Oh Krishna. So in other words, what they're saying, oh black man, you are as sweet as nectar. Your divine body is like stationary lightning. Oh African man, you are as sweet as nectar. Your divine body is like a stationary lightning. Oh African man, you're so charismatic, you're so beautiful. Oh herder of cows, oh divine son, oh African man. That's what they're saying. Literally, if I'm lying, let an Indian say where I lied. It is us who they worship. They have no other gods except Africans. We are their gods. But they don't like us. Isn't that ironical? An Indian will talk to you really rudely and then go to the temple and worship you as God. Anytime you hear them saying Hare Krishna, they are saying Hare African man. Anytime you hear them say Lord Ram, they're saying Lord African man. Ram is an African man. So is Sita. Sita is an African woman. So is Lava and Kush. We are their gods. This is what the songs say. They are singing praises to us, but you would never guess it because you never listen to those songs. So I went to listen to those songs. I was listening keenly to hear what are they singing about? What are they talking about? So, and then I did an interpretation of those songs. I was shocked. I was like, you mean to tell me that we are the gods of India? And no one ever told me. Isn't that a shame? So these are the things that they've been hiding from you. That you may not know that you, in fact, are a divine being. And as they say, in their own religion, as they say, we are in Kali Yuga. And at the end of Kali Yuga, we're going to have a cleansing of fire. And we'll go back to Satya Yuga. And in Satya Yuga, it is the black man who will be in charge. That's what they say. That's not what I said. I never said anything. I never wrote anything. That's what they say in their Yuga system. I'm not making anything up. We are, in fact, the gods of the Indians, in case you're wondering. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Kenya's time has come. Our time has come. Your time has come. A time to succeed and not fail. A time to grow wealth and not poverty. A time to go up and not down. It's time for you to stop walking and drive your car. Stop renting and buy yourself a house. It's your time to get blessed. Join the CCV movement and together let us kick poverty and unemployment out of Kenya. Become a member today. Donate what you can. And remember that the CCV is the only political organization in Kenya that is squarely built upon Christian values, unlike the rest. We'll see you next time. Thank you.